city. No big deal. Thank you for your donation. But that don't leave them the right to put their tag on anything. I mean, seriously, anybody in here that's got a problem with it? Yeah, really? I mean, stop and think about it.
Mr.
You all
Crowley,
own that property
you're-
just like I do. We pay taxes on it every year.
Your time's about up.
Well, think it over, but I would really like to see all of that done,
Thank
please.
you. Anybody else?
Hi, Councilman, Councilwoman, thank you. I'm here to talk about braille accommodations within the high school issues that I have going on at the moment. So.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Gene Hoffman. Thank you for giving me the time to speak today. One of the significant challenges my son faces is in the school setting for the lack of braille resources, mainly sticking to around the braille along doorways, elevators. They continue to have braille that's being able to be ripped off, ruined, not a permanent solution, along with a few other businesses within the community. We've struggled for over 2.5 years trying to figure out a more permanent solution since he's been in high school. This will be, he has 1.5 years left, and I've fought it the whole time. And I'm not fighting just for him, but trying to fight for the rest of the disabled in the community that are blind or struggle with visually impairments. We have a few things we're discussing trying to get done. There has been notice of possible decisions maybe this week, but there's not been a definite in 2.5 years, and I feel like that is a big problem, especially with how much people in our community do have disabilities.
Well, we appreciate your concern. One of the things that I would say, and Don can speak to this as well, that we don't have a whole lot to do with the school district as far as what they require and don't require. So that would be something that would be good to present to the school board.
We plan on doing that Thursday as well.
Perfect.
That's in Duchesne, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Duchesne at 7.
We used to have I actually taught years ago, a couple of students that were blind or mostly blind, and we had a braille writer because I actually, Louis Burdett, and I would sit with him and he would type out the math problems, and then I would tell it to him, and then he'd type it up, and then he would solve it and then tell me the steps. And I know we had one.
Well, now
That's
like
only
if you
a
go into
temporary.
UB Tech building, theirs is permanent. You can't rip it off, you can't remove it, but the ones in the high school are completely removable. A lot of the older, different kids that are not disabled it's pretty much like stick.
So you're talking about like
there's no control.
for the doors and stuff? Okay.
Doors, elevators.
I actually have heard that was brought up at one of the board meetings, but I haven't heard, but I'll be there Thursday. And so, and I'll keep your letter and I'll address that with Mr. Young. I'm actually going out with him Thursday to a meeting in Salt Lake, so I will visit with him on that and find out where we're at. So hopefully we have some answers for you Thursday. And I apologize because I remember I had a couple of students. I remember Louis Burdett getting him through Math 1050 on a braille writer. I have one of his papers still as one of my prized possessions, and thought it was so cool that he was able to get through.
School district before.
For 2.5 years, we've talked to the
So-
school district, we've talked to,
Yep.
And
most of them,
no
the
luck.
principals, the sped department, like we've gone every route. They've said they've gone to the school board meetings and discussed it, and nobody's giving a definite answer on a permanent solution. That's not gonna be.
Well, lucky for you, you have an advocate here that's on the council and the school board.
Yep.
So that's good. And we can also, we do have an SRO officer. I don't know how often he visits the school, but he can at least pay close attention to that, because that's something that we can help with in that way. But I think the best avenue is with Don aware, and Don, I think you can pass on our sentiment that
Yes,
a more
I will do
permanent
that.
fixture would be, It'd be
No, I
nice.
mean, it's definitely just a good learning. It helps him to be able to, once he hits 18, know what he's trying to look for in a building alone. It's just educational for
Yep.
life skills, honestly. So,
Absolutely.
but I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen.
No, absolutely, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We do have a few minutes left of our comment period. Seeing none, we'll move forward with our meeting. The first action item that we have tonight is a 3D archery shoot site approval. Mindy, I think you were here at our last council meeting and we discussed some options, some possible options, and it sounds like you were able to go and look at some of those, and we'd like to hear your thoughts.
I brought Steph with me tonight.
I'm not on the agenda, but I did sign in for remarks, so.
Oh, you're
that's
totally fine, no,
an
you
issue.
don't have to be on the agenda to comment. Glad you're here.
So we did go out and look at the gun range, and I think we can make it work. A few notes we just wanted to add that I didn't hit on very well last time, is that the date we're working on is for May 10th. It's Mother's Day weekend, it would be that Saturday, we would actually set up Friday the 9th, so that it's ready for the kids, the early morning on the 10th. We are expecting about 120 shooters. Saturday, we had our state indoor in Vernal. We had 128 shooters show up. We weren't expecting that many, but we made it work. Of those, we had 65 from the basin. 63 were from outside Basin, which is a huge impact to a city like Roosevelt. We bring in 63 families, because not only are they bringing in shooters, but then you have the coaches coming, and grandma is coming, and Aunt Betty is coming, and everybody comes in with that. I think you guys all have a copy of the insurance policy,
Yep.
where we did list Roosevelt City. One thing we wanted to point out too is that in high school sports, archery is actually a high school sport, and we're actually the safest sport, the second safest sport in the country. Ping pong and racquetball have us beat, barely. We're trying to start some ping pong teams and trying to get kids to go have accidents so we can be number one. They're not cooperating with me yet, but we'll get there. And we do have national guidelines too that we have to adhere to make sure that we keep our safety. I'm actually a certified USA archery blind judge, and then all of our range officials are also trained. So it's I know archery sounds scary, but it's very much contained. So when we looked at the gun range, this is kind of our site proposal, and I know that's going to be the cowboy range along that rock cliff that's right there along that roadway. But for right now, that would be phenomenal for us. The things we look for the kids is like hunting shots. So those uphill, downhills, hey, your arrow hit a rock. Those kind of things are the things we're kind of looking for. And that right there is perfect. We can use the roadway as like a walking trail, so they'll go up to their targets. There's a few different photos that we've added there where you can see kind of our idea is to have them kind of line up along the road, put the targets up on the hill, they'll go get their arrows and come back. And I think there's enough room that we can space the 20 targets so that there's no cross shots or they're in each other's way. The other thing is these kids, these aren't just kids showing up with no training. These kids know when it's safe, and there are line judges present, coaches are present, parents are there, and we try not to shoot any small children. So they know when it's clear, when they can go get their arrows. We kind of help them. The next screen we do have, that's kind of gives you an idea. There'll be like a shooting stake up to a target, and then they'd come back. Once they get their arrows, they move to the next one. So it's a roaming range that just the archers filter through. The environmental concerns that we would have, hopefully we're only leaving footprints, no garbage, no nothing out there. I know there's been talk of cleaning it up. We don't need you to, it's perfect. Things like rocks, trees, sagebrush, that's kind of what we're looking for, because we like to use those to give better shots to the kids. Let's see, we have a couple pictures there. That's actually our Paisley, that's Stephanie's daughter, who is a multiple-time national champion shooting one of the 3D shots. So you can see where we kind of like the trees, sagebrush, stuff like that for these kids. And there's a couple ideas of shots that we found while we were out there. One concern out there's just some more with some shots and pictures you can kind of thumb through. We gave you lots to look at, because we really tried to do the most. We go one more, parking. We're thinking parking right there in that flat, open spot between the road and the sewer ponds. Stephanie took it upon herself to drive around a lot, and we didn't have to call her husband to pull her out. And so we think it will be a nice, packed down enough that we should be able to park on it as it is. Now, if you are building a parking lot, great, but it's not something that we would need to host our event. As it sits, it would be perfectly fine for us. We do have one proposal also for the shoot-offs. So once the kids shoot, the top scores, so the top 5 scores in each division goes to a shoot-off. Shoot-offs are amazingly fun if you've ever watched them. It is the greatest thing to watch ever, especially when it's kids. And one of the things we were thinking about is using that already existing archery range, where we would put the 5 targets, the kids would line up on a line, each shoot, they get scored, then they move over. And that may be able to use that area, or we could actually use it out where the parking area, where we were thinking that either one of those is a possibility for us. Let's see. We do have a couple concerns or questions. One is the smell of the sewer ponds. If we bring the kids in, I think we'd be good, especially in May, with the smell. I haven't been out there that time of year. I don't know.
Usually the smell is the worst when the ponds turn in the spring and in the fall. And so I don't think, in May, I don't think you'd be all right.
Okay, yes, we like that.
The reason we built the gun range out there is because it's a major
great
deterrent
spot.
for people not to build. And so we know that if we build the gun range out there, there's not gonna be a lot of interest in, we won't have to change the use of that for quite some time. But I don't think in May you'll have much of a problem. Dustin, do you?
Yeah, Kirby said that April was the most time it snowed, so.
Yeah.
I bike out there a couple times a week, and yeah, May will be fine.
Perfect, that's what we want to hear. Another concern that we just have a question is, if it's approved, is it possible to possibly camp out there that night, the range officials? Because we have our animals set up, could we stay there?
I don't see why not.
Yeah,
I think that'd be just fine.
It would be 2 or 3 of us that, during the short stick, to have to stay out there and guard animals overnight, but, and then what kind of payment to use it. Sometimes we get the facilities for free, where we're 501c3, we can pay $5 a head, $10 a head, somewhere around there also. So it's just a matter of what the city's comfortable charging us to use the facility. That was our big concern, is how much you're gonna charge us, but.
I didn't even think about that when you brought it up.
Mayor, the only big concern I would have is just the cleanup they talked about. What if we charged a nominal fee if it's cleaned up after we give them their money back? And then, because I don't mind supporting this, but it might be good if there was a deposit, so if there was any issues, we have some money to help take care of that. But at the same token, if it's all cleaned up and good, we just give them their money back. I would love to just sponsor for the city to support it.
Yeah,
Personally, because they're bringing all the stuff in and doing all the work. We're just providing a spot.
And the kids will clean it up, and they better not vandalize anything, we'll beat them.
Well, I'm just saying, I think,
Oh, wait, that was on record, I didn't mean that.
You know, I don't know that I'm looking at Rhonda a little bit, because I know there's been some question on how we charge and what we charge and whether it's on the fee schedule and things like that. But I mean, we have charged, what do we charge for kids? But they're using a park where we're actually mowing the lawn and everything else. We're doing quite a bit of work. But what's the rate that we charge?
It's $15 per kid, For example, baseball, softball, soccer, and football, we charge them about $50. There is a tournament fee, but like you said, we're doing a lot to prepare for that event, so.
Yeah, and I don't know
That's
that.
for like a weekend?
That's a season.
That's a season.
Yeah, whole season.
This is a one-time.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, when we make the deal with Ballard City, that would be open to the public and things like that. Sometimes we charge a reservation fee for pavilions and other things, and I would consider this more that than trying to do a per head fee, maybe something like Don said. But, just a reservation fee, because there will be some impact. Where you want to do the 5 targets and do the shoot off, I guess is what it's called. That's kind of an open range, so we just need to make sure that was reserved. So I would just think a small fee, a reservation fee, kind of like we do with a pavilion or a park or something like that.
just for the information, it's $50 per reservation on the pavilion, so
Yeah.
if that helps.
So I think that's probably, what we would probably charge is just $50 for a reservation fee.
I love that fee. So. Okay,
Could we add though, like, make it 150 and the 100 be just a deposit, just to clean it up? Is that something we could do, Rhonda? I trust you'll clean it up, cause you'll get your money back,
yeah,
it's
but you
just,
gotta
but-
protect yourselves too.
well, that's all I'm thinking about. If we end up having to repair something, we have a little bit to
Yeah.
offset that. That's all I would recommend.
For it's not a fee, I don't think that would be a problem. We're not charging a fee.
Right.
It's just deposits, so.
So if we just charge the 50 for the reservation and then the 100 as a cleanup deposit, whatever you wanna call it, and then we're more than happy to pay that back once it's been cleaned up and there's not been any problems.
Perfect.
Does that sound fair?
That sounds wonderful. That is more than fair. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't know that we need a motion on whether or not you can be there, because that's where we had suggested last time anyway, because it's based on the feedback we got from the attorney, that's more conducive to the activity that you have.
It might be a little bit better than the Teddy's playground, just for parking alone. So it actually fits us perfect.
Great,
So we're excited to use it.
excellent.
Hey,
We're excited to have you use it, and I think and I was one of those young men running around with flipping arrows.
Flipping sticks.
Yeah, so,
It's a good thing to do.
yeah.
I have a couple of other additional questions. The first one would be, first of all, of course, thank you, and this is gonna be a great event for Roosevelt. Is it a possibility, because I know that things are gonna be changing in the future for that shooting range, if maybe we can come back, if all goes well, that it would be available for us to do this again next year? Or if the gun range starts taking off more public, is that not maybe an option?
We're gonna have cowboy action in that area, and so you're gonna have some structures and things like that. But in
Okay.
all reality, if you reserve the area and it still works for what you're trying to accomplish, I would say that it would be an option in the
Yes.
future.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we would just have to work around what we're doing, but that's what it's dedicated for, a reservation so that you could use that area if it still works for what, your setup and what you're doing, absolutely.
Perfect. And then, one other question, and also a thank you to Aaron Brown. As we get a little bit closer to setting up, making plans, looking at our shots, is it okay if we just reach out to Aaron Brown to let us in and unlock it and things like that, the area? Is there anything we need to be aware of permission-wise or procedure-wise?
Nope, that should work just fine. If Aaron's willing to run out there, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'll communicate with Ryan and make sure there's anything going on.
Yeah. By May, it'll be interesting if we get the funding for the rest of it. There's other things that we can focus on, the 1,000-yard range, the shotgun shooting and everything else, which is another high school sport, probably just as safe as archery.
We'd love to get
I'm
that one
guessing.
to go into.
But anyway, so there may be some things moving and shaking by then, but I don't think that area is really going to be impacted yet, and we can focus on the other side. So I think, communication with Ryan and Aaron, Aaron should have the information, but yeah, you should be just fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Again, we appreciate your time, and we really tip our hats to Aaron Brown, who's been really nice to lead us around and unlock things, and so we appreciate his time, your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for bringing a great event to our area.
Yeah.
Oh, we're excited, thank you.
Great. Proposal for increased funding for Fourth of July concert, oh goodness. So we have Vanessa and Daniel here with the Arts, Parks and Rec Committee, and they're actually going to be talking about the next three items. So that'll be the Fourth of July concert, rental rates, and I don't know exactly rental rates for,
The facilities, like the courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts, that kind of thing.
okay.
There are suggestions on them.
And then compensation for APR. So let's just hit those three, and we'll turn the time over to you guys.
All right, thank you. So I'm Daniel, this is Vanessa. And she's been working very hard to plan the 4th of July event, which is gonna be upon us really quickly. Did we get those, did Sierra get the document to you that I sent last week? Did I make it?
I'm just checking. Yeah, 4th of July?
Yeah, a little bit about 4th of July and then the compensation and, yeah, okay, looks like they're, great. Just wondering if it made it. So Vanessa has been looking for bands as soon as the last 4th of July ended. She was working with someone and there was various bands that said, no, we're not gonna come out. Especially for the budget that we were proposing to them. She's worked out, there's a possibility of these band right here, Rhett Nebeker and the Coleman. They are the headliner band and the opener band and lodging for $10,000. That's all of that cost in one lump sum.
Does that include the sound?
No.
No, okay.
No, not sound and stage, but usually, lodging is not included, so that's a nice ask on their part. UBIC, we're also helping out with the UBIC committee, and they're struggling to find a band to come up for 20 right now, and even 30, right? Some 30. So, 10 for the headliner, the opener, and lodging. It's not a bad deal, that's all I'm saying about that, especially after she's been searching for others. She has a big water event slide coming out and a dunk tank coming out as well for that event to help.
Who's sitting in the dunk tank?
For the record.
Nobody uses the dunk tank. I'm too nice. They might not care, I know, from what feedback I got from the last people in here.
Yeah. The committee's already set aside $2,000 for that event, but the sound and stage would be $3,000 and then the $10,000 for the bands, so we're looking at 13 there. And then the slides and the dunk tank are $1,100 as well. So, we're looking at a little over 14,000 right now. I know that doesn't include fireworks, right? I know this is all adding up. The numbers that I sent, the Arts Subcommittee right now, because the fiscal year begins July 1st, has about 11,000 in it. We could, if that was all drained, they'd be done for the year until July, as far as our events are concerned. Then there's the full subcommittee that's sitting at 20 that is drawn on for all kinds of recreation events. So those are all numbers that, to be aware of. And we don't know what your plans will be for the next fiscal year in July and if there'd be a replenishment. We kind of need to know what you want us to do and can it be supplemented at this?
So, yeah, those are good, very good comments and thoughts. And thank you for presenting the numbers. Having been involved with the Arts, Parks and Rec Committee at least until the last about year, and understanding how that was to work, we did a couple different things with the 4th of July. Now, the fireworks have never really been a part of the 4th of July budget as far as what you guys would get, at least historically, what you guys would get for, musicians or talent or anything like that. I think we had and Ryan, correct me if historically, annually, we've had a fireworks budget, $25,000 that covered 4th of July, UBIC, and New Year's. And so really the fireworks budget has always been a separate budget from the 4th of July, as far as entertainment and things like that. One year we had like $7,000. I think that's when I found Kennedy Dodds and then $2,000 for the sound or whatever. Then I think the next year we tried to put more in the Arts Parks and Rec budget, especially in that pooled fund, and that didn't work. I mean, that worked okay, but it didn't work all that great. Then we went back to like, I think we had $9,000 for entertainment, if I remember correctly. But then what had happened is I think that's where things might have got confused, because that's when we had John Chadwick helping with it. And so we said, okay, well, he'll do the fireworks, the entertainment, and everything else for like $19,000, something like that. And he was providing everything. And I think that might have been when it got crossed, but technically we should have a budget just for fireworks that's separate. And then personally, I would like to see a budget for entertainment. And the council would have to decide how much that budget would be. That is independent of the Arts, Parks and Rec budget, because that is a big event. And it's getting bigger every year, which we like to see. But just wondering given the history now to the council, just wondering what the council thoughts are on.
So are you saying you'd like to see a budget, like a line item this is how much for 4th of July entertainment?
Or
And
you
then
want
we
to
have the fireworks separate so that they know they have that money to work with
Correct.
for just entertainment. And then on top of that, do they have more 4th of July budget for the activities?
Well, that's where
Or is
Parks and
that-
Rec budget starts to come into play.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
take care of it, like,
So
Okay, so if we cover fireworks and entertainment, then your Arts, Park and Rec budget is good to cover what you have
the
left.
activities, yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, so like we did Sandcastle building, we did the water sponge raw, that all came out of our subcommittee budgets.
Okay.
We didn't- we
Pickleball
didn't-
tournaments, all
Yeah,
that stuff. Yeah.
and I believe the dunk tank inside coming from that art. The money we already set aside in the art subcommittee to help cover that as well. And we do know that, hoping that vendors will come, but historically, 4th of July's been a tough one for us to get vendors too.
But it's been getting better every year.
What's that?
It's been getting, well, at least food trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
vendors are hard on board. Everybody's got family and are busy.
Yeah.
And you can't really guarantee that you're gonna have the money from vendors to work.
Right.
but we do hope it gets better. And if so, that will come into play too in the future.
would Mayor, just a question, would UBIC then need a line item for the entertainment for that as well?
So UBIC, we already provide the fireworks, but then we have a line item for the UBIC for $7,500 on top of the fireworks we provide. But that is UBIC is a completely separate entity
Right.
from Roosevelt City. And so,
We're just on that committee, is why we're not.
Yeah, but we're not here to ask for you to
Right.
entertainment.
Right. Well, and I think, and I've talked to Vanessa about this a little bit too, we might have to get to a point where we are looking at sponsorships and things like that. I know we already had somebody concerned about sponsorships, but I didn't say it then, but I'll say it now. Sponsorships help offset what the taxpayer would normally pay for these types of programs, events, and facilities, right? So we are grateful for those that participate, private funds in these things, but that may be something that we need to look at. But with the council, and I've been in Vanessa's shoes, in Daniel's shoes, and so I know how, one, difficult it can be to line somebody else, and two, how expensive it can get.
It's just like going up,
Yeah.
nothing's getting cheaper.
And so what do you guys think, and like I said, historically, and I think it should stay that way, is the fireworks budget, because Ryan knows exactly what he needs for those three things, and it's already a separate budget.
Yeah, and I pay the fireworks all in one lump sum, like it's one package deal, so when they come, it's on a semi, it's one huge order, and then we split it up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it's all bundled together, plus we get a discount, so.
Yeah, and so we've got one firework budget that's completely independent of all of those, other than he decides how much fireworks goes to each event. But so with that, I think there should be an entertainment budget for the 4th of July. That's kind of what we've set up in the past. We do have, the funds already going to the Arts, Parks and Rec Committee, but that is a large event and one that's only going to get larger. So just curious, just for the entertainment, what do you think a fair amount would be for the entertainment portion, just that line item?
Sounding like 13 is what she needs this year, the
Do
10.
you want better every year?
Well, and that,
It's just like, I'm just thinking like the prices in my mind, the prices are going up and people won't come out for what they would used to come out.
We called on bands for 3 months and offered them like, because I thought we had 10,000. No one would even talk to us.
Well, and,
I don't know.
if we put a budget together that was 13 to 15,000 for that, that'll cover this year, right? And then is it something we can look at possibly doing, and here's the other thing, and I know this is coming up later on in the discussion, is these are volunteers that we've asked to go and do all of this. And so the question that I have is it something that we allocate 15,000 and then we go out and try to get advertisement from people, talk to Strata and see if we can use their Jumbotron, give people advertisement, kind of like EDIC does, because that's how they afford the bigger and more expensive bands and things, so. But that means more work for our
Volunteers.
yeah.
They probably have to go get 40 or 50,000 sponsorships.
Who does? UVIC? Yeah, exactly. And we might not need to get that much, but maybe if we get 10,000 in sponsorships. But how much work is that? And that's a question that we've got to ask as well if we put that on the committee. But
Mayor, I have a question. Would we need to reopen the budget to add this in, or would this be something we would pay on the next budget and we can talk about it later, but we could say we're supportive?
I think it would have to be added into this budget because
I guess as far as this contract, which, you know, we can do that, is this your only copy? Okay, we got copies. Deposits due upon signing it, 25%, so 2,500, and then the remaining 7,500 is due on or before the 4th, prior to the performance.
So it could come out of next, because you have enough for the 2,500, right? It would just be the 7,500.
I mean, we could pool that,
It's not
yeah,
gonna be sustainable.
yeah.
No, and I like the mayor's thought. I'm just trying to determine how we can help you now. Do you need the money now, in which case we have to reopen the budget, or can you wait till the next budget? We can put it starting July 1 and make that Zeke's headache to deal with as we try
how much
to.
is in the council discretionary funds?
Yeah, well, I guess we could use that now if we needed to, Mayor.
And
Or we could let them pull from what they have and reimburse it come July.
So that would reimburse
Actually,
for the past year, but then we'll be faced with.
Right,
We
we'd
would
have
have
to
to
reimburse you for this year and budget for the next
Oh,
year.
we would reimburse and add for the next.
we will.
yes.
Like into the,
It's the same. We're gonna have to do that anyway, whether we pay it now or then. It'll be 30,000 instead of the 50.
I like the thought of the discretionary,
Just about 5 in there.
about 5.
A little over.
Does Josh have a discretionary or is it just council?
Josh also.
Josh, we should have more than he does. We're crying out loud.
Completely empty.
Is?
Ryan knows because he's been to Hawaii and back.
Sounds like we might have to open the budget
Yeah.
anyway, because I know why Dan's here tonight, so.
I mean, I'm sorry, I was asked to do that. I mean, we have APR meeting coming up. We could
Okay.
propose that the pool budget take the deposit right now. And if need be, we could try to cover that, when it comes time, and then we can work that out, I suppose.
Actually, I would recommend if we have 5,000 discretionary, let's give them the 2,500 so they don't have to worry about that out of our discretionary. And then we can work on the budget. Would that help if we gave you the 2,500
So
to?
do you need to get them signed if we're gonna have them?
it would just be good to kind of get the money beforehand to pay for this year.
Right.
And then when the fiscal year starts, then we have that.
Right. Yeah, they do have to go
As
through the
soon as
budget.
we do
though.
that.
Can't just-
Well, we might be reopening the budget anyway.
Right, but I would, can I just move that we use our discretionary 2,500 to APR to help with the July 4th to at least pay for to get the band locked in, and then we'll look at the budget later to reopen to figure out how we can help you with the entertainment.
When
So-
you say we're reopening the budget today, Or
It won't be today,
It
but
won't
it's
be today.
based on decisions made today, I think it may be something that we need to do
maybe next time.
to, yeah.
And I've-
So, Don, could your motion be to take the 2,500 discretionary funds to pay the down payment?
Right,
Once we reopen the budget and we can allocate money for that activity, the discretionary fund will be paid back and then they'll have the money available for the remaining.
sure, I can make that, I'll support that amendment to my motion. Did you get all that, Sierra, or is it recorded so you can go look at it later?
Okay. So, and then the question to the council ultimately is how much do we wanna allocate? Sounds like 13 definitely for this year. We can talk about budget for next year, but.
13 for this, probably 15 for next.
Do we need to come back?
No. Nah,
We just don't get it.
yeah.
We'll just make sure, put it on, when we open the budget, put it, you may wanna come if you wanna,
So do you wanna just
just listen.
add that to your motion down to 13,000? When we open the budget and we,
I don't know that I need to, I think we can talk about it next time, but if you want me to, I'm happy to add that to the motion.
well, I think we need a definite answer of how much will ultimately go.
Well, I think we've made a commitment here, I would rather just wait till we open the budget and just stick with the motion that will get you the 2,500 now, we'll open the budget and assess where we're at. I don't wanna, if we can get you 15, I mean, that would help a lot too, you could maybe carry over for later as well, so I'd rather, I don't know, I'm just talking, maybe, do you have a thought, Dave?
Oh, no, not really. We'll be approving it when we look at the budget anyway, so.
We can put
But I
all
think
the
it's good to make the
vendors-
commitment now for at least a minimum of 13,000, just that way you guys can have, rest easy.
Is that an amended motion?
Sure.
Okay, I'll accept the amendment, the friendly amendment to the motion that you have to.
I was gonna say, so it's actually his motion at this time as an amended motion. Any other thoughts or discussion? We can have up to 3 motions on the floor one time, we might as well throw some out. Seeing that, we'll go to the last motion that was made, which is the amended motion, which is Don's motion with the amendment of specifying $13,000. And we'll vote on that first. All in favor of?
Oh, we need a second.
Oh, yeah, the second first. We have a second by Cody Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, then we don't need to go to the other motion, and that is passed. So we'll get that taken care of at our next, whenever we reopen the budget. But for now, 2,500 will be allocated from the discretionary funds to get the contract signed. Okay, and then the rental rates.
Yeah, do we have that document? At one of our APR committee meetings, there was discussion about rental of the courts for tournaments and such like that. And Councilwoman Goodrich kind of suggested to the committee, since they're the ones that often have had experience with it, wear and tear and use of it, maybe they could provide some suggestions. So, nothing's being approved tonight, but in our last discussion, these are kind of some of the rates that seem to make sense to the committee. So, take them what you will. That's the pickleball courts, a single court, $30 for half a day, $60 a full day. If someone's trying to borrow all 3 courts at once for a big tournament, maybe half a day, $75, full day, $150. Basketball courts, 25 half day, 50 full day. And then talking with Preston about Teddy's Playground disc golf course and the nets and use there. A tournament fee is typically at others, $5 to $10, somewhere around there per head. So these are just suggestions for you to consider on that.
And with these, are these rates that would come to the city, right? Or are they?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't think they come to us. Because we're sponsoring those tournaments or events. I mean, if it was, I assume it'd be different, but.
One of the questions, I just addressing Mr. Farley's first comment about the cleanup, I know Dustin's gonna look at it. Do we have signs up there to encourage people and trash cans and things so people?
We have a couple trash.
Because I think in the contract for the pickleball or basketball, if they are gonna do a tournament, they ought to, something in there that they're responsible for cleaning up And like I mentioned before, maybe we require some sort of cleanup deposit with that as a suggestion.
I think that's a good suggestion. Having run the Roosevelt Library, we always, even if it's a public event, it's not been charged rent, we ask for cleaning deposit up front.
Right.
And it's not a lot, but sometimes messes are made and they just leave it, and staff time to clean up the mess.
Right, exactly. That would be my suggestion, is to add, because we're not voting anything on this, these are just recommended, but I would take that to APR maybe, especially for tournaments, that they have some cleaning deposit, whatever, and I would recommend getting with Dustin or probably Dustin would be the best, just to kind of decide what that fee could be. And I don't have any problem paying it back as long as they've cleaned up, but if we get something, then if there's a mess, then, like I said, it does take man hours from his crew to go clean that up, that they can't do other things, then we would keep that deposit.
Yeah.
Sierra, what do we do at the pool?
As far as like
Reservations and,
there's the $50 refundable damage deposit,
okay,
and then there's the rental fee itself.
gotcha, so that's more.
That's all I'm saying. I think this is good. If they feel like these are good rates, I'm not necessarily opposed to them. I just would like to add the cleanup. And I don't think it needs to be exorbitant, but we need something that hey, you are responsible for this. And so,
One of the things that was mentioned too is, I think we treat this like if we were to reserve these and then charge for them, we treat it similar to the pavilions, that if they're not reserved, they're completely open to the public. Anybody can go and play and do whatever. But if they're reserved, then it costs a fee, and then that gives them priority over anybody else that's there. And anyway, I was finished, so.
Okay, I'm just thinking, the fee really kind of guarantees that they'll get a clean and ready facility too, though, doesn't it? So that fee is kind of to help cover those costs to prepare the area in case it's been used for a week without rental. I don't know, at least that would be my thought. If you're renting a place, you probably want it prepared for you, so.
that's what we do for baseball, right?
For pavilions.
Pavilions, we do, we print a weekly sheet out of who's reserving it, and each day that it's reserved, we go in there and wash it out, pull the trash, make sure there's, garbage sacks in, make sure the tables are clean, so like you said, Councilman Barrett, it's prepared. So, you're right on.
Do you want us to discuss the cleaning fee in the committee, or maybe is that something we discuss?
I would discuss with Dustin, and you guys can come up with what you want to do there.
And I think more than anything, like the cleaning fee is good if they leave a mess, then I think it'd be cleaning and damage,
Right.
If the pool has a damage deposit, I think that's a good idea to just kind of make them.
I agree. I think that's a good thought. So, yeah, I would just have you guys reach out to Dustin and get with him, and then you can discuss them. And when you're ready to bring back the actual fees for us to approve, we can then get those approved. And
And I think these are, definitely good recommendations. Aaron, have you had a chance to look at these, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like everything that has been said in regards to guaranteeing the reservation. We have had groups reach out and kind of had a dilemma on, how to guarantee that for them, but I think this would kind of solve that and still have enough open play for people, so.
Perfect. And you think that these are fair and?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to do a lot of research. I did look at like Vernal, and they're pretty comparable, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
Because I think the APR done a great job putting that in place. I think now it's just staff following up and comparing those fees to maybe some of the other areas, and then bringing a final recommendation to council, and at that time we can get it put on our fee schedule, so.
I mean, really, it's in your hands, like Mayor said, it's not coming to our budgets, it's city's gonna collect it, city has to decide it, so we're just providing it.
We appreciate you.
Benchmark.
We appreciate you doing the work, to do that.
Okay.
And then last but not least, for the House Parks and Rec, is the compensation.
Yeah, when we kind of discussed this idea in one of your previous city council meetings, you asked us to go and see if we can find others. Maybe I just don't know how to Google properly as a librarian, but I had a double of the time finding rates that were publicly listed. I can tell you these three exist. You know about your planning and zoning already, and I think, and I did take that recommendation back to APR and said, you know, planning and zoning is only getting this much already, and they're like, oh, that's good to know. I shouldn't say only, that was a bad word, shame on me.
Is that per meeting? That's per meeting.
Per meeting, yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Duchesne County Library Board receives 50 right now. Vernal Planning and Zoning is 75. And I get that this is apples and oranges, and it is not the same for everywhere.
The mosquito abatement board, Duchesne County gets $200 a meeting, so.
That's
Just so you know.
That's robbery.
So-
That's our taxpayers.
Yeah, that's
Taxpayers
right,
right
it's its
there.
own entity, and there's high rates there too. But what I did come across was another document from the 2017 Ogden City Council meeting. They had some similar questions, and there was a survey done of Utah City and County Management Association, which I found on their website. Your city manager, Josh Bake, is apparently a member. The data is 8 years old, but it did give kind of an idea on that chart. I don't know if we have that chart as well. Would you skip the chart? Okay, I can send you the chart as well. It was another attachment on that email, and I apologize.
How many members do you have on the APR?
Up to 15.
Up to 15.
How many do you currently have?
We are now right at 10.
Okay, and I can't remember, did you guys have just an idea of what your thought would be a fair, compensation? Just curious what your thoughts were.
Well, I think we agreed that it shouldn't be higher than planning and zoning. That's definitely the line not to cross.
We talked about planning and zoning at 1.2, and didn't we?
Increasing, but it's also statutorily required that we pay for planning and zoning.
Right.
True,
So,
and it is a choice.
this has
She's
not been
absolutely right.
increased for years.
So we probably ought to
Yeah, that's
revisit.
25, Roosevelt was listed on that survey 8 years ago, and it was 25 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Planning and
So
zoning.
I think we need to revisit that one, but I also I think we could definitely look at APR.
Yeah, one thought to consider as well is we do have a few other committees.
Yeah.
And so whatever we do for the APR, I would say we have to at least tentatively think that we may have to do the same thing for other committees as
Right.
well. Which
I
isn't
agree.
a ton. I mean, in all honesty, in the whole scheme of things, it's not a major amount of money, but it would be something that would help incentivize people to come and participate.
And especially for APR, where a lot of those people are bringing in money and sponsors and other things, like
Yeah.
we
There's a value
we get
there.
a lot of bang for our buck there.
Yeah,
because of the-
agreed. And I'm not saying that as a deterrent not to do it, I'm just saying we might wanna look at some of those other committees too. I mean, the airport board, they don't have near as much put on them as far as carrying things out. And so that's a totally different committee, but it may be something we look at for some of the others and even budget for so that we, just so that we can show our appreciation of those that are really putting in a lot of time.
Daniel, how many would you say are coming consistently?
We've had a quorum the last couple times, out of the 10, the quorum's smaller right now because of that. But I'd say we've been about 7 or 8 at the meetings. And those have been the core, right? The ones that weren't coming left the committee. And so that dropped our quorum down. But I mean, when we had 15, we were still struggling sometimes around 7 or 8. That seems to be that core number that's continuing on, so.
And that may be something that we look at too, is reducing the number to maybe 10 or 12. It doesn't really matter because whatever the actual active number and appointed number of the committee is, that constitutes the quorum. That's how it's written so maybe it's not a big deal that we reduce the number. I'm just thinking out loud, but yeah, but at a point in time, you guys think that it would be good to reduce the number just so it's not an issue, then we can do that too. You're saying no way, Jose?
She needs the
Let's
help.
just get more people there. Let's just get more people there. And motivate them. So what do you think would be, because whatever number you said that, you can't, that you don't think it's fair that it's higher than the planning and zoning. And we're also in agreement that planning and zoning is probably not where it needs to be. So based on your research, what do you think a reasonable number is?
I don't think it's 75. I would say it's somewhere in the 30 to 50, but I can't tell you that. I mean, and I can send this data again, by the way, so you can kind of see 8 years ago. But 8 years ago, Roosevelt, Pleasant View, Farmington, Cottonwood Heights, and Price all paid their planning and zoning 25. And then, Clinton, West Point, even South Salt Lake, which is interesting, was 35. And then you start moving into the 50s with Heber, Draper, Bountiful, and then Lehigh and Sandy were up in the 80s and 90s. And then, gosh darn it, we should have gone to Washington City, 150 meeting 8 years ago. Apples and oranges and a
mosquito abatement
I know.
by 50 bucks.
So, I mean, the majority were paying around, 25 to 35. That was kind of the trend, right?
8 years ago.
8 years ago for planning and zoning, so, that gives you more, I guess.
I think, just speaking for myself, I think the council is supportive of getting something done. I think we also need to do planning and zoning as well, so I'm not opposed to having that as a item for next time and see what we can do to, obviously we have to open up the budget because there's a little bit of cost there, but we're supportive and we appreciate your efforts, and I agree we should, help you out that way in compensating your time, so, and that might help get a few more to the meeting if they know they're gonna get.
That's a hope, yeah, and they don't get paid if they don't show up.
Councilman Baird mentioned, and I'll just say it out loud because we won't get into competition who does more, but we feel like you do it at least as much or more than what the planning and zoning needs does. So I agree with Councilman Roosevelt that it's definitely warranted to have something there. Let us do a little research on our own and see what we can come up with as far as a fair number. And then whatever that is, that we decide for the planning and zoning, we'll do something very similar for that.
May I make a suggestion?
If that's, I guess we should probably have a motion on that. So Don, do you want to make the motion that we will compensate, but we'll look for?
Yes, that's my motion.
Okay, so there will be compensation, but it'll be determined at a future date, and it'll be equivalent to what planning and zoning gets.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right.
Perhaps, if he has access to UCMA, if they have a more current survey, maybe something Josh could ask them to see if they have more current data for you to look at.
I'll bet we can, and we'll find it. We want to be at least, we want to make sure that our people understand that we appreciate them. So we might not be the top, but we're definitely not going to be the bottom anymore.
Mayor, through that organization, we've got a mass email. We can actually send that out as a question. Hey, what is everybody doing? And
great,
and get quite a bit of information back. So,
would you follow up with that with Josh and Sierra and make sure, Rhonda, whoever, and get that information?
I'd be interested too to see, if you ask how planning and zoning and the other committees compare as far as what they pay. I'd just be interested to know that too.
Yeah.
May I first say thank you, because exactly as Rhonda said, you can choose no. Planning and zoning is required, nobody else is. So thank you, appreciate it.
Well, you guys could say no too, because this is a volunteer position, so.
And we appreciate
all your efforts.
We very much do.
Hopefully you felt supported tonight.
We got a lot coming this
Yeah. I visited with Daniel today, and I've been super impressed and just grateful for the things that have been done since the Arts, Parks, and Rec Committee.
Yeah.
And we have wonderful staff that have done a lot too, but it's great to have two entities that work together, having these ideas come to fruition, and you guys have done quite a lot, so thank you.
Shout out to Edwin, he's often at our meetings, he's a great liaison for you, we appreciate him.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last item for action items is the entrance gates at Nature Park, gun range approval.
Okay. So obviously you guys already voted once on the entrance gate of the nature park, and the feedback that I got was, take notes, kind of pay attention. is there a need for it? After several months, I can honestly say there's a desperate need for it, and that's coming from staff, not just me. We've had a few incidents over the months, and not major, but enough to where, and obviously the gate's not gonna cure it, we know that. But if we can slow it down, that'd be great, so I have pictures or whatever you want, I don't wanna show them right now, but incidents that we've had of activity during the night, in the parking lot. We have.
You mean this is not an appropriate setting for some of the, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So when you say incidents, what are you referring to, like people
Yeah.
camping there or people messing
So
around?
I've kicked out campers, just one. We've had someone pull in there at between 3 and 6 and broke into Moon Lakes. Cut through their fence, parked right in front of the pavilion, right in front of the camera. And made themselves welcome to spool of wire. We've had
Highly expensive aluminum
iron wire, yeah, there was a lot of work there. And then there's been loitering and stuff in the park, like, I get on the camera a lot now, because I'm paying attention, because, not only because of this, but also Dan here, he's here representing his field. We've had activity where they just go driving out in the field and do donuts and stuff, so as I've been getting on, there's just a little bit of activity in the middle of the night, I don't know why. And I'm not saying everything is happening then. It's
The
happening in the
activity is
daytime.
happening in the parking lot though.
Yeah, so if
With
we could
cars
just,
and vehicles.
yeah, calm it down a little bit. There is funding for this. It was in the outdoor rec grant, for fencing. And so the money's there, that's not an issue. And so I went out and got bids. But this time I did it different. I said, give me a bid for 2 gates instead of just one. And so the price came down on it. We'll get on the second gate later, but, so this was our most competitive bid at 16.5. And the gates, I don't have a picture of the gate, but they're gonna they can match the fence that's there existing, so it looks good. It'll be ran off of solar to where we can put in anytime we want for it to open and close, automatically, and then there'll be a keypad on there for emergency, so if Mark or any of the police get in, they'll have a code to get in as well, so. It is capable for future things like ricotta, if you wanna go down the road where, get in with your phone, and now I'm kind of gearing it towards the gun range right now. I don't think we'll need that for the nature park, but, so yeah.
What were you thinking the hours would be for open and close?
What is our hours right now? Is it till 11? But what do we, what's the parks open? What's in the code?
6 a.m. and 11 p.m.
So we'd follow that, 6 to 11?
Whatever you wanna.
I think in the winter you could close it sooner.
You could.
In the summer, it might be, when does the sun start coming up in the summer, 5:30? I can find out.
And we could open it
It
up
doesn't
an hour
matter.
earlier.
My concern is making sure people.
You make that shot, we can be flexible with it.
Can do
I think
that.
the main thing is to stop the loitering and hanging out in there late at night, cause they're messing up the parking lot too. And I don't think we're gonna stop that, you know, with the roadies, but.
Would it be closer to the road then?
You know, it'll be at the end of the pipe fence already there. The reason why is so we can get traffic off the road, so if they're waiting for the gate or have to stop, their tail end isn't out in State Street, so we wanted to get traffic, and that's why we paved, to that location too.
Well, and Councilman Goodrich made a good remark, and that was, you know, if that's locked, they can go up to the hospital and access the trails walking.
Yeah.
As well, and so.
If
Well,
it's
they can
super
park on the side of the
early,
road and walk in too, right there.
Yeah, and we can accommodate with that too. We can put in something small, you know, where they can still access it, don't have to hop the fence, they can walk through.
parking spots outside the gate? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, it would be in Moon Lake's yard or State Street, so it's not,
I just think
You're
if it's open
safe.
at 6, you're gonna catch most people, but if someone wanted to go before that, they could park up by the school and walk down.
yeah, and I think education's huge, I think, you know.
You can even have a sign and say,
Mhm.
you know, pavilion or that area open from 6 to 11. If you can even say, if you need to access or you would like to walk outside of those times, you have to go here.
Right.
Here's a location you can go to.
Yeah, we can do that. So to flip on there, I just got a bad text during our meeting. Kevin finally replied. Been waiting all day, but he said it was a no, so we were gonna have someone do a donation for our gate for the gun range and it didn't go through, so. And so that would be my second request is we get the gate for the gun range, cause the 200 yard, I don't know if you've been out there lately, but we're all but just setting targets up and setting the benches up, and we're ready to rock and roll. The shelters are done, parking lot's done.
And the feeling from the shooting range committee is that we don't really want to open that up until we have a way to make sure we know who's entering and exiting.
Right.
And so that's where the Vercata comes in. We have the gate there. Somebody goes online to Roosevelt City's website, they have to register. It's free, but they have to register, get their own PIN code to enter that gate, and then we know. And that was the feeling of the committee is we don't want a lot of vandalism there, so we want to know who's in there, even though it's free to the public. And so,
what's the bid on that gate? Is it the same?
It's the same.
That's included in this, right? Or is
Well,
that-
it was
It's another
16.5 for each gate.
Right, that's what I just
That's
checked.
with the solar, the controls, the gate.
16.5, and you have money for the nature park, do you have the money for?
Yeah, thanks. When we reopen the budget,
we have 500 and
couple more, yeah, we're right below 500,000 right now as a balance, so.
For the gun range.
For the gun
Yeah,
range.
and the nature park was already approved. We just didn't, we decided to wait, right, as a council?
Well, it wasn't technically approved until we get your
Right.
say on it. I
But
mean,
you
it's
have
a
the
scope,
money.
But the
yes.
money's in the budget for it
Yeah.
already. It's not that,
It was in the scope of the phases that
Right.
was submitted. for
I
the-
remember because I made a motion and then we, to approve it, and then we debated and decided not to do it and just wait to see.
Which I think
Which is
was
fine,
great.
yeah.
I mean, we learned a lot and actually it kind of gave us a few more ideas. We probably would have done it different and maybe not the right way, so.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was bad, I'm just saying I remember we had discussion and that's the decision was to wait and kind of see. And obviously there's a need, so I think we need to move forward with these, and if we're getting a good deal on both, and we do have to reopen the budget for the gun range one, right? Even though we have budget?
No,
no.
no.
Oh, because the budget's already in there from
Sorry,
previous.
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, when you previously.
Yeah, so that's already in there. So yeah, I would just move we approve both of them and get them done.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Can I talk?
Yeah, any discussion.
So I'm still not a huge fan of the one for the park. But I'm happy mainly because visibility goes down, people can't drive in and out, more things can happen, and there were kids that wouldn't happen if there wasn't a gate, or, so. And I feel like part of me is arguing, it's safer to not have the gate there, and part of me is saying it's better to have the gate there. I talked to Chief a little bit earlier, he thought for safety of the city, he felt it was better to have the gate, and that's the only reason I'm even kind of going this way. But I would like to see how we're gonna use the gate, have it written in policy that I could maybe, I don't know, I just see that gate closed. I know we're doing construction right now, but it's closed a lot, and I don't, I want where it's taxpayers, walking path there, and kids are walking on that all the time.
One thing I will, and I get what you're saying, sorry to interrupt, and then, but I will say, whether we have a gate or a fence or something, I think part of the problem is people being able to access the fields. And so whatever mechanism we use, whether it's a gate or a fence, there needs to be something there to address some of the problems that's happening with the neighbors. And so that's something, I just want to throw that out there, is, you know, whether it's a gate or not, that's one thing, but.
I don't feel like closing off the park, we're just keeping vehicles out of there where they're vandalizing. that.
Especially at times when they,
Access the trail.
yeah.
Kind of closing it off in the middle of the night, really. I mean, if we're leaving the gate open till park hours till 11, I mean, really from midnight till 4 in the morning, I don't think you should be in there, but.
Hey,
There will be people there. That's the
But
thing.
when I get fireflies, it will be a hot up, yeah. I'm kidding.
I think,
That was a joke.
yeah, part of it is that we have other ways to access the trail that are a lot more visible, that people are not gonna go spin donuts in the parking lot at the hospital. But there is a way to I mean, the hospital parking lot is almost just as close to, you know, walking down to the pond as it is from walking to the other way to the pond or whatever. And so, I get your concern, definitely. That was, I think, the concern that came up last time. Was,
Right.
this is a public park. Do we really want to close it off? We don't close off our other public parks. We do have our ordinances that already address curfew and those types of things. And so,
This
but
park is just a lot less visible than the
Exactly.
other parks.
And that's the reason I think it's
Yeah.
okay to leave it open. But
Mayor,
I
I
understand, Dave.
I did like your suggestion, I think it's important when we put the gate up that there's signs to make people aware of the time and where they can access if they, you know, if it's after hours or, you
I would
know.
like it if we knew when that was gonna be open and closed all the time.
Well, it's
up to us.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is I think we need signs to educate that it's open 6 to 11 and there are access points, that kind of thing, you know, just so
Do you
people are
want it
aware.
to change over seasons, because where the days are longer?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either.
I think the 11 o'clock is probably set in stone, but I would guess in the winter months,
You could close it at 9 or 10. Easy.
and even the opening in the mornings, you know, the sun doesn't come up till 7 a.m. in the winter time, and so, you know,
Is
but
that
in the
something
summertime, it's
you can
coming up
bring
at
back?
5:30.
Is
I think so, whether we approve, with the approval of the gate, then I think we approve the times. They're two separate
Yeah,
items, I believe.
I think money could be better spent on like lighting and other things like that. I don't have a problem with the gate necessarily, other than I feel like it, you know, I feel like the access to his property there probably ought to be addressed from a city perspective to help out with that, because this is kind of a joint thing that he's helped us on. But,
And Dan and I have been talking a little bit, and Danny, on what we can do even further down the road to kind of reduce the activity out there, so we have a few ideas and where we're both happy on this side, so.
okay.
I think if, I don't know, yeah, like, I don't like the idea, I don't know why it's such a thing with me, but, I feel like it's an inconvenience for the residents at times. But I'm only one council member and we've already got 2 for it, and I'm guessing she'll vote for it, so that's okay. If you get it, that's great, I'm just having a hard time voting for it, you know what I mean? So that's the only reason I wanted to talk, I didn't want to blindside everyone here, but.
You don't have to vote for it.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it up because we feel the staff, this is the best thing to, for us.
You know, Dave, and I appreciate you voicing your concern, because it doesn't have to be unanimous, and that's why we have, you know, 5, 6 council members, and I think you bring up valid points, and so don't, you know.
Yeah.
For sure. If we fenced off the property there, that solves Dan's problem, but doesn't necessarily solve your other concerns. So,
I mean, the cameras have been a great thing. I hate doing cameras because I feel like they cost a lot and they're all over the place, right? But after looking on, I mean, they don't lie. I mean, we got footage of.
And that's what we went to versus the gate, is we said, well, let's throw cameras and do some other things to try to,
Yeah.
as deterrents. Do we have some big signs that say, hey, you're on candid camera?
Not enough.
So I was gonna say, I think if somebody parked in front of the pavilion, looked up and saw the sign that says,
Well, I don't have it on like huge on the pavilion as they pull up, but maybe we should,
I
cause.
don't know what you would have, those guys' faces were covered, I don't know, you would have
Yeah.
caught much even with more cameras.
no, I'm not saying more cameras, I'm saying
More
a
signage.
sign, because if they saw it,
Faces were covered, I don't think it would matter.
well, I know, but I'm just saying, and Chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have a camera that says, hey, this is camera surveillance, I don't know that those people would have walked back and forth 15 times back and stuff, I don't know. But I think regardless of the gate, I think signs, at least at the entrance saying, you know, this is, we've got camera surveillance. I don't even know if that's a legal issue that we have to say that, but I think it would be a good thing as a
It'd be a good deterrent. And I think that's what we're trying to do is keep that activity in that parking lot out of there.
Because, yeah, so, well, all good thoughts.
Just the, never mind.
Go ahead. It's- we're
I
not-
think out loud, so a lot of times my thoughts don't sound that great, so I don't want to embarrass myself too much by talking right now.
You said it now, you started.
No, okay, I'll say what I was thinking. I mean, maybe that parking lot, if we don't, you know, maybe it would be better used for something else, you know, besides parking lot and have emergency access there, because there are other ways to access that area. Anyway, so just throwing that out there, like I said, I think out loud, but that doesn't mean that's what I want.
Well, for now, one of the things that, now Don, is that approval for both?
Yes, that was my motion to approve both, let's get them done. And a second by Councilwoman Goodrich.
No, it was actually Councilman Allen.
Oh, was it? Sorry, I got
And
the
we
one.
have, we have discussion, any further discussion?
No,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
But only because I'm for the gun range. I would do an alternative motion for
Well,
just the gun range, but,
I'll just, you're totally cool, you're not, you're not.
yeah.
So, okay, motion passes and duly noted on the record, Councilman Baird's feelings, and so I think that's
They'll
important.
be back for, times and how we wanna do that, so.
Okay, I appreciate that.
As far as the gun range goes, I would say ASAP, because we're gonna wanna allow, and then it's gotta be in conjunction with some type of a grand opening. So as soon as that gate's ready, or you're thinking it may be ready, let us know, and then we can have some type of a grand opening so that we can at least start to utilize that 200-yard range. Okay,
Do you want me to stay up here for,
yeah, let's have it.
and
And let's just stay up there, but let's just go to the expenditure.
I move we approve the expenditures, I didn't see any issues.
Okay, we have a motion approved, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Baird, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go ahead, Ryan, with your manager report.
Josh didn't have anything, but I thought of something today that we probably should talk about is, ULCT in April. It lands on that third week, if you remember right, every spring, so.
I have it on my calendar.
So who wants to go here? Why, we have you in one spot?
It's the 17th or the 16th to the 18th.
And one dilemma with it is city council is the Tuesday the night before, so I don't know if you wanna still have, it just depends on how you wanna work it, but I bring it up because Brock wants to get things booked.
Unless,
Oh, yeah.
unless the council feels differently, I would say, and we'll need a motion for this, but I would just say that we forgo that second meeting and plan on attending the ULPCT.
I would move to approve that.
Okay. That was a motion to suspend the second meeting in April. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then
So does
I'm
I,
planning on going.
it's just the timing's always bad for me because I have a class at that time, so I'll double check, but it's always, that's the end of the semester for me, so I'm trying to finish up, teaching and things, so.
is it okay if I have Brock reach out to you one-on-one to get? Okay.
That's probably the best. I need to look at my schedule still just to double check.
Yeah.
And then one last thing I wanted to do, Bill's not here. I wanted to thank him for all the hard work he did on the kitchen. It was, when you get 20 different opinions.
Is this Brock that's doing
Bill.
it? Oh, Bill.
Bill,
Is
he's
he
not
actually doing
here.
it himself?
Most of it, yes. And I kind of felt bad for him because we've got all of us in here with opinions, right? And he did a good job. So I just wanted to shout out to him and under the pressure. It's not done yet.
I kind of miss all the hoses and everything everywhere, but hey,
No pressure.
As well as the cemetery boys, they put
Yeah,
in
the
quite a bit
cemetery.
of work on that as well.
Kind of a scary deal when you have the cemetery guys hanging cabinets. But they did good.
Just so everybody knows, there are 5 Tuesdays in April, so if it should happen, you needed to have a second meeting, no.
Oh, no. Well, that's good to know. We might call it an emergency.
I'll be gone, yes, you're right.
So whatever we do, you.
Great. Do we have anything as far as committee reports tonight?
Mayor, I don't have a committee report, but I want to give a shout out to Chief and the SRO and Clint Robinson and the IT at Duchesne County School District and all those involved in the event that happened today, and appreciate them being able to get right on it and take care of it, and ended up, I thought it was handled very well and very professionally, and just appreciated getting the reports from Chief as well as from Superintendent and different things. So, but anyway, just wanted to bring that up.
And just for context, it was a bomb threat at the school, but they were able to find out who it was and got him into custody very quickly. That's not the first time that's happened in the last 6-8 weeks. And so anyway, we have a really good police department that gets right on it. So yeah, I echo that. Thanks, Don. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Councilman Baird?
Nothing for me.
Councilman Goodrich? Councilman Allen? Okay.
We don't need to go
I hope
to
not.
executive, so I move we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
All right.
We are adjourned.